Welcome to Live and Love Your Life with Janice Moranz, MD. Welcome back to Live and Love Your Life. I'm here with Janice Moranz, MD. As always, Janice, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Always good, and I'm learning constantly. Every couple of weeks we do this amazing dive into so many aspects of our health that we're not aware of or thinking about in our daily lives. So, and of course, Janice, for those listening, is the health coach. You can find her at drmoranz with a Z, MORANZ .usana.com. So, Janice, this is a week it's all about me this week.
Yeah.
I've been talking to our listeners about the How Healthy Are You assessment that you can take at that website I just mentioned, drmoranz.usana.com. This week it's How Healthy is David Wolf. And we're going to do this. We're going to walk through my actual assessment so we can learn about how these work, what the narratives look like, what you can learn and pull out in order to live healthier. So, Janice, I'm going to let you drive this process.
Okay.
I think you wanted to start with the lifestyle plan. Let's just, so high level, what happened is I took the assessment on the website and I got an email with they look like basically secure links that have reports. There are 3 important reports. The first one is the Top Health Risks Report. The second is the Lifestyle Plan, which is I think where you want to start today. And then the third is the Personalized Nutrition Program. So, I mean, it might serve us to talk about what each of these are and sort of the top level view, and then we can dive into the one you want to start with, which is lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right.
So the first one, the risk factors, they go through several different parts of your body and tell you the risks that you have according to how you answered the survey. The second one is the lifestyle changes, and they go through 5 different areas that talk about the health of your cells and how to do what you're doing right and improve on things that you may not be doing.
Okay.
And the third one is recommendations of things that you should take so that, like supplement-wise or shakes and things like that, in order to match the things that they feel that need to be more supported. Okay,
perfect. So what I did was I clicked on the link for the number 2, the lifestyle plan, which I think is where you'd like to start today. And so I'll let you drive this. By the way, I didn't completely read this, folks, so we're going to read it together in real time here. This really starts to talk about the life or the health of my cells. So go ahead, Janice, if you will.
So the overview starts with how the health of your body really depends on the health of your cells. Every cell this is all about cellular nutrition. Okay. If your cells are healthy, then your organs are healthy, and then you are healthy. So there are 5 different strategic areas of health so that you can help your cells, and we're going to go through those. In David's case, he indicated that his own current health level he expressed as average, but also interested in improving his health and reaping the benefits of a healthier lifestyle. And of course, this is something that everyone hopefully wants. The definition of average, of course, is different for different people. So, it's kind of a judgment call. So we're going to look at the different current health conditions and then maybe some answers to give you ideas on how to take your current health situation and make it even better. So to start with, it talks about benefiting from more weight-bearing and cardio exercises. Of course, cardio, as we know, benefits your health, your entire cardiovascular system, your endurance, burning calories, and strength training will help to build muscle mass, increase bone density, and helping to get the shape of the body that you want.
So, Janice, I just want to stop you. So in my mind, in real life, I walk about 2.5 to 3 miles a day. Call it 2.5 miles a day, every day. I do a meditation in the morning, and then I go out and I do this walk, and it's fairly brisk, and some of it's uphill. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm doing more than nothing, and I'm not doing weight training, and I could go to the gym. I have a membership there, and I could do that. But for me in my lifestyle, this feels like it's good. I feel great when I get back. Is it not enough?
It is enough.
Okay.
These suggestions are if you want like more, which you don't necessarily need. I mean, when you're walking, that's weight bearing. If you're walking briskly, you're getting cardio exercise.
All right.
You're burning calories. You're increasing your endurance. So that's great.
Okay.
The suggestions would only be, if for some reason you decided you were going to, run a marathon or something.
Oh, I see. So it's a bit of a pivot or a little tweak towards I want a little bit more. But in terms of my health, I'm doing okay on the walking and this exercise piece, cardio wise. It's about a 45 minute, it's about a 40 to 45 minute endeavor.
Yeah. So that's a good amount of time.
Okay.
And since you're doing it every day, that's great. I mean, theoretically, if you wanted to increase it to an hour, you could, but, you're already doing really well. If you were only doing 5 minutes, then we'd say, well, let's try to increase a little bit each day until you get up to, 30, say.
Sure. And Janice, what's the minimum for this type of activity? I think a lot of people may walk or maybe bike, but is it a 40-minute idea, or what's the idea?
Usually I say 30 minutes, and even like 3 times a week would be like your minimum.
Okay. And just as a reference, and again, sometimes when we think in terms of minimums, we end up achieving the minimum. So I don't want to anchor our audience or even myself into that, but I just find that in a total sort of way, I feel better after this 40-minute thing, and the route works, and there's the logistics too, right? So,
Sure.
Okay, good. So let's move on. Thank you.
So the next area they talk about is your personal toxic burden. So in other words, just in this country, we have toxins that are out there in the air. They can build up in our body. And so the things that they say is to be sort of preventive is wear gloves when you're dealing with substances that you don't want in your body, which just makes common sense.
Yeah.
So your skin will absorb things that it touches. And so if it's something chemical that is not, good for us to eat, then you don't want to be getting them into your body through your skin either.
Okay.
And the second thing they talk about is to keep the ventilation, like in your garage and in your house, up to, maybe more than it already is, just because your house, you have different carpet and painting and that kind of thing that will make chemicals, outgas. The chemicals will go into the air. And so ventilation is something that's good, open windows when you can, but be careful what you spray into the air. We do, some people do bug spray and air fresheners, but chemicals. So all of those you want to try to just kind of minimize. Another thing they don't say here, but I've read it in one of Dr. Wentz's books, is about like dry cleaning. And we know there's chemicals in that. And so they talk about you first bring the dry cleaning home to maybe hang it outside for a day or two so that it can outgas out there before you bring it into your closet where it's going to be pretty, concentrated.
That's interesting,
like that.
Right? So you bring it, and it's in a bag, so that kind of contains some of the outgassing as well.
Actually, what you might do is take the bag off when you put it outside,
right?
So that it can outgas,
so it can breathe, and it just sort of ventilate all of that stuff. Okay, all right. That's something we smell when we pick up our dry cleaning, no question.
Oh yeah, and then they talk about measuring the levels of certain things in your house and things like that are going to be in there. And they talk about maybe an air purifier. Some people have those, especially people with allergies will have those, and that helps to take out the toxins from the air. So just a little bit above what the average person does, if you want to. It's a way of just making your environment less toxic.
Okay, perfect. And these are things, I think you can get used to the odors in your house and not be sensitive to them. I know we've all had the experience of going on a vacation and then coming back and maybe recognizing odors that are not familiar. Those could be toxins, maybe. So it's just this awareness of, or sometimes when you go to a friend's house or someone who you don't know, you come in and you just sort of sense these different aromas. Some of it's just, the natural aromas of people living in a house. But, you can smell carpeting sometimes, particularly if you move into a new apartment, let's say, or you have new carpeting put in. I mean, those are gases coming into the air, and there's been a whole lot of writing around a lot of these sorts of toxins, Janice. I know that.
Yeah.
From another podcast that I produced years ago, there was a case of children, being close to the carpet because they're crawling on it. So all of these things are really, really critical to just be aware of. And in the case of carpet, I don't know what you can do, but
the suggestion would be like a prevention, which is to, there's certain fabrics that are less treated than others.
Right. Try to choose.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I think in the way of noticing odors would be pets. Like if you have cats, that a lot of times I walk into a house with a cat, you can tell there's a cat.
Right.
So
right.
Yes, you're right about all of that. The next thing is about silver fillings, and they ask about that because mercury is what most people, have their fillings, the silver fillings, because that's what was used for a long time. And now they're realizing that the vapors from the mercury are released, and they're released, into your mouth, and then you're breathing them in.
Yeah.
And see, mercury is a toxin, and now that we realize that, there are a lot of dentists that don't do silver fillings anymore. But what they're suggesting, which again could be above and beyond, is that people that have silver fillings get them replaced. And a lot of people do that. There's a lot of dentists that's all they do now. And that way they're not made out of mercury, and so you're not breathing in mercury vapor.
Yeah, this is really, really critical, folks, as you think about and mercury is just so deadly, right? So, and I think I answered this question incorrectly. I'm quite sure that my dentist, who's pretty current on all this stuff, if I had any silver in there, the color of them is silver, but I don't think that, in a couple of cases on the bottom, but I don't think he's using any. I mean, yeah, I'm quite sure that I've had mine replaced.
Yeah. So, if you haven't had them replaced and you're our age, you would have mercury because that's what they used exclusively, years ago.
Yeah. When do you know about when that stopped? I mean, this is a bit of a granular question, but just to get our time reference.
Well, I've known it for about 10 years, so it's probably older than that, but it's still, fairly recent.
So it might be 15 or 20, maybe.
Yeah.
If you were getting fillings done and they haven't been. I mean, a lot of times they're replaced by then because stuff happens, they crack and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So they are giving a few suggestions for if you do have them and you haven't had them replaced. And that is these are things that you want to do so that you're not releasing the mercury vapor or increasing it. And that would be avoid chewing gum. Just the pressure on it, can release vapor. Don't brush with a dry toothbrush. When you drink really hot or acidic beverages, it will also release more mercury vapor from the fillings.
Okay.
And then they talk about mercury in fish. As we know, a lot of fish eat, they eat from the ocean, which has mercury. So they say that usually smaller fish are safest to eat. And the ones that are highest in mercury that you would want to avoid would be mackerel, swordfish, and most types of tuna.
Really? So if we buy canned tuna, there is a risk of mercury in that canned tuna?
Yes, unless it's like a company that specifically is, aware of which tunas have less mercury or no mercury. Maybe they found a place, where they can find it where the fish is safer than other places. So organic type companies may have something like that.
Okay. So, and swordfish was one of them? It was mackerel, tuna, and swordfish. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So they're just larger, therefore they're more likely to retain mercury as they eat it? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think so. But it just says, usually the smaller the fish, the safer it is to eat.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then they talk about tattoos, which a lot of people have now. The mercury is usually, I'm trying to think now I don't know which color it is, but you can't, there is mercury in some of the different colors of what they use for tattoo. And of course, it's put into your skin. And so it's going to get into your body. So that's just something to watch out for, if you're getting a tattoo, to try to find colors that do not contain mercury.
Well, and this is interesting to unpack from the standpoint of you being a dermatologist. I mean, look, some of this is generational preference, but what's your sense about tattoos and the ink and all of that? Are you adverse to the idea beyond the cultural implications? But, from a health standpoint, is this bad stuff to be doing?
Well, it does depend on which colors, because the colors contain different minerals.
Interesting.
And some of them are, not good for us, like mercury.
Right,
Another thing is some people are actually allergic to some pigments, but you usually don't know that until you've done it. And then you get, so.
Yeah, well, it's never been something I've wanted to do, but look, and it's interesting that the whichever pigments they are that have the more mercury or have more toxins, it's interesting. That'll affect the design of your tattoo. How crazy is that? All right, continuing.
And then they talk about water, of course, that you drink in your house. They said that you're good because you do have filtered water.
Yes.
So that is actually good.
We use we fill it from the tap. It's one of those with the one with the B. It's the container has that, and you replace the charcoal filters, I guess, or whatever the filters are made of. They're replaceable.
Right.
And the light shines on. There's a green light and a yellow and a red when it's time to replace.
So it says that you can consider, to do better, you could consider upgrading from the charcoal filter to like a reverse osmosis or distillation system, and that those remove almost all harmful contaminants and also fluoride from the water, which fluoride prevents cavities, but it is poison also. So even fluorinated toothpaste, they do recommend against that.
Yeah, interesting. And I did see that in some of the other literature you've provided. And this is also, we're in New Mexico, so we have a certain kind of water system, and it may be very different from certainly other municipalities. So the city water supplies vary widely, I would guess, and what is harmful in them or not, right?
Right. So, you can find out, from the water company or one of the local environmental.
And the other thing, Janice, about water is, we need to stay hydrated. That's another theme in all of this. And I happened upon some reading last night about that particular subject. So we're drinking water all day, throughout the day from our tap system. So this is like a constant. It's not like tuna where you eat it once in a while and you might get some mercury. This is every day, all the time. So if there's something bad in your water, you really want to know about it, and you really want to be awakened to the fact that it should be filtered. So I just want to highlight this one.
Yeah, which is why a lot of people are drinking bottled water. But even that, you have to be, certain ones have some things in them. Some totally strip out all the minerals that we need.
Right.
So you have to be careful. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So then it talks about what we eat, proper balance of foods, and a healthy weight. And it just recommends that adults should have about 10 to 35% of their diet being protein. Fats should be between 20 and 35%. And usually that's the good fats, which mean not the trans fats and not the saturated fats.
Okay.
And then carbohydrates between 45 and 65%. And of course, they mean the good carbohydrates, not our processed foods, not the things that are made out of flour and sugar, but vegetables and fruits.
The white stuff, as you like to call it.
Yeah. We want to get rid of that.
And Janice, I have a question, and you may or may not know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there a time of day that we should be eating carbs and another time of day we should be eating protein, just in terms of our metabolic cycle on a daily basis?
As far as I know, it's best to have that ratio at all your meals so that they can work together.
Okay. So it's not a time of day thing. Okay. somewhere along the line, I picked that up from somewhere or someone, and I wondered if there was any truth to it, that myth. So
Yeah,
okay.
I'd have to actually research it to find out. It's just kind of my hunch that, when you take multivitamins, you don't take vitamin D at one time a day and then, your calcium at a different time of day, because they need to be there for the cells at the same time.
Okay, so spreading it out, more of an averaging idea and as well for proteins and carbs, and at least in terms of your experience. Okay.
Right, right. Now, dairy is something that is a little controversial. Some people, of course, can't do dairy. Some people don't want to do dairy. Some are vegan real strictly. They don't do dairy. And the thing is that if you do that, you just have to be sure that you are replacing the vitamin D and calcium and phosphorus that is usually found in dairy products. Mm-hmm. So if you don't do dairy, you need to make sure that you're replacing those nutrients by other foods or by supplements.
Okay. And by the way, I don't eat a lot of dairy. I have a little bit of cheese. And I don't know if dairy equals dairy equals dairy. Is milk the same as cheese? Is the same as in terms of the nutrients that we're getting? Are all dairies alike in that sense or not so much?
Well, they can be similar in that the same things are added back into them. So that's why we drink milk, is because they add vitamin D, back into it. And they do that with most dairy products, which is why you need to take them in a different way if you're not taking dairy.
So in the interest of time, Janice, I know we've decided we're going to split up these reports into a couple pieces. So for those listening, remember you can subscribe on iTunes to this series, get more information. We'll be continuing with my How Healthy is David Wolf report next week, beginning with biometrics and genetics, and then we'll be continuing the process through there. So this will unpack these reports and how valuable they are, and then also unpack a lot of information that Janice just has floating around from her experience and in her head, which is beautiful, and being around all this stuff. So I guess we'll leave it there for this one. Janice, thanks so much for all your insights on all of this. I'm looking forward to next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Live and Love Your Life with Janice Moranz, MD. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or visit drmoranz.usana.com and take the How Healthy Are You assessment. You can reach out to Janice Moranz directly at janicemoranz@comcast.net. We'll see you next time.